Next, I'll demonstrate the horizontal, vertical, and diagonal versions of the double half hitch knot. And I'll show you how to set up your practice sampler using the mounting knot. For your practice piece, cut 3 cords about 70 inches long each. In my macrame board, I've put 2 pins about 3 or 4 inches apart and taken one of the cords and found the very center of the cord and put that in the center of the pins. And then you're going to wrap the cord once around the pins and tape down the cords to the outside of the pins. You may want to put a pin through the tape and the cord for extra security. What you've made is a temporary bar on which you'll attach the other 2 cords. Now I'll demonstrate how to attach the cords with the mounting knot, which is a variation of the lark's head knot. A traditional lark's head knot has a bar in the front, and what we'll make is a lark's head knot with the bar facing to the back. Take one of your cords and fold it in half, creating a horseshoe-shaped loop at the center of the cord. Pass this loop up under the bar cord, then bring it over the top and bring the tails through the loop and tighten. That's the reverse lark's head knot, and I also call it a mounting hitch. To make a wider knot, we're going to put half hitches on each side. To do that, bring your cord over the front of the bar and then behind, and then down through the loop and tighten. Over the front, then behind, and down through the loop and tighten. And that's a complete mounting knot. After you've attached both cords to the bar cord with mounting knots, pin the mounting knots to the board by pinning through the closed loop that's at the center back of each mounting knot. And then release the pins and the tape from the bar cords and bring these cords down, and they'll become part of the hanging vertical cords, also known as warp cords. Now that we're set up, I'd like to demonstrate the horizontal double half hitch. I've put a pin at each edge of my piece underneath my bar cord to keep this top row neat and horizontal. Bring your first cord on the right to the left at a horizontal angle. It will act as your anchor cord for the row. Take the first cord over and it will act as your knotting cord. Bring the knotting cord over, behind, through the loop, and tighten. That's your first half hitch. And with the same knotting cord, make an identical half hitch, going over, behind, through the loop, and tighten. Move to your next knotting cord, over, behind, through the loop, and tighten, over, behind, through the loop, and tighten. A couple of important things to remember are that you need to keep your anchor cord taut when you're tightening the knot. If you let your anchor cord get too loose, the knot may flip like that. So keep it taut. I also recommend that you pull up on the anchor cord because that will keep gaps from forming in between your rows. Now we'll make a row going from left to right. I've placed a pin underneath the anchor cord at the edge of the piece to stabilize it. Bring the anchor cord all the way to the right horizontally and take your first knotting cord and bring it over the front of the anchor cord, then behind, and then down through the loop and tighten. Over the front, behind, through the loop and tighten. Notice how when I tighten the knot, I pull up on the anchor cord in a diagonal direction. Again, that keeps gaps from forming in between the rows. Continue to make rows of double half hitches until you feel comfortable with them. Now let's make some rows of diagonal double half hitches. Take your first cord on your right and bring it to the left diagonally across the other 5 cords. Take your first knotting cord and make your double half hitch going over the front, behind, through the loop and tighten. Again, over the front, behind, through the loop and tighten. As you can see, the horizontal and the diagonal double half hitch are the exact same knot. The only difference is the angle that you hold your anchor cord. To make a row directly below it, take your first cord on the right again and use it as your anchor cord. Continue in this way across the whole row, and you'll see that the last knotting cord in the row is going to be the anchor cord from your previous row. So here's the anchor cord from this first row here, and it will become the knotting cord, the last knotting cord in this row. To make a diagonal row going from the left to the right, I've placed a pin at the edge of the piece underneath the anchor cord to stabilize it. Bring your anchor cord to the right and make your first double half hitch over, behind, through the loop, tighten, over, behind, through the loop, and tighten. And work your way across the row, always remembering to keep your anchor cord at the correct angle. This is the pattern I use for my double rainbow and my sandstone bracelets. In those bracelets, beads are strung on these cords in between the rows of double half hitches. I made an additional row of diagonal double half hitches, and I brought the anchor cord around a pin and horizontally to the left and made several more rows of horizontal double half hitches, ending with the anchor cord coming out to the left, and that will set us up for the next knot, the vertical double half hitch. With the vertical double half hitch, the cords will change function. Whereas the vertical warp cords acted as knotting cords, they'll now each act as an anchor cord as you move across the row. And the horizontal cord that runs back and forth through the rows will now act as a knotting cord. Another important difference is that you'll have to change the cords into the right position before you begin the knot, and that's with the vertical cord on top of the horizontal cord. Once you have them in the correct position, bring the knotting cord backwards over the top of the anchor cord and then under the anchor cord and pull through and tighten. That's the first half hitch. Then again, you bring the knotting cord backwards over the top of the anchor cord, pull through, and tighten. So you see the cords are not in their correct position, and you'll have to switch them so that the vertical cord is on top. Bring the knotting cord backwards over the anchor cord, then under, through, tighten, backwards over the top, under, through, and tighten. I like to leave a space, a big space, so I know where to pull my cord through. Vertical double half hitches tend to kind of elongate, and you may see the warp cord, so I like to push them up with my fingernail as I work across the row. To come back in the opposite direction, remember to get your cords into the right position with the vertical anchor cord on top of the horizontal knotting cord. Bring the knotting cord backwards over the top of the anchor cord and then under the anchor cord, through the loop, and tighten. Backwards over the top, under, through the loop, and tighten. Switch the cords to get them in the right position. Over the top, under, tighten. Over the top, under, and tighten. Be sure to pull the cord straight out in the same direction that your row is going. Since my row is going from right to left, I want to pull out to the left. Make several rows of vertical double half hitches for practice. If your knotting cord starts to get short and you're going to run out, in the next step I'll show you how to add some more. If your knotting cord starts to get too short and you need to add more cord, bring it under the remaining warp cords and off to the side. I've taped down my replacement cord, leaving about a 2-inch tail. Bring the replacement cord underneath the warp cords and into position to make your next vertical double half hitch. Make the vertical double half hitch and slide it into place. Now you can continue knotting with the replacement cord. Later, you can trim off the tails of these two cords at the back of the piece. With the remaining cords, you may want to experiment a little with double half hitch patterns. For instance, try making a few rows that combine the horizontal and the vertical double half hitch within the same row. Vertical, horizontal, vertical, and then horizontal. These are some ways that double half hitches can be used in micro macrame designs. In this double rainbow bracelet, diagonal rows of double half hitches form a zigzag pattern. And here they form a chevron pattern coming together at the center. In this bracelet, the rows of double half hitches are very loose and curvy. These are two examples of Cavendoli knotting. Cavendoli uses horizontal and vertical double half hitches to create patterns. Here, the teal cord is the horizontal double half hitches and the green is the vertical double half hitches. This example has multiple colors of cord to create a more complex pattern. So that concludes the lessons on the essential micro-macrame knots. You'll probably want to review and practice until you feel completely comfortable with all of them. And you'll always have the knot diagrams that come with this lesson to refer to should you need them. Along with the knot diagrams, I've included a step-by-step e-pattern for a micro-macrame bookmark. This bookmark project brings together several knots and patterns and shows how beads can be incorporated into the knot work. Thanks for joining me for MicroMacrameJewelry.com's Just the Knots video class. Happy knotting!